How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, February 28th, 2022, the last day of February in 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Sunday, February 27th, as I preview today's matchups and events to get us through the second month of this calendar year. Taking a quick look at where we are, taking a step back. With football being over, we are towards the end of the college basketball regular season, as there is about a week or two left as we get into, or as we are about to transition into conference tournaments. In the NBA, we are past the All-Star break as teams are starting to make their final dashes towards playoff spots. And then not to mention that overseas, we do have a good amount of soccer in the second half of its schedule. With that said, looking at the college basketball performances to end the weekend, the 14th ranked Houston Cougars would be the top ranked opponent or the top ranked basketball team that would play yesterday. They would host the unranked SMU Mustangs and beat them 75-61. They won by 14 after outscoring SMU by 15 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 14th ranked Cougars were led in scoring by their starting forward, Fabian White Jr. He finished with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, and he would shoot a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 14th ranked Houston Cougars are 24-4. They are now 13-2 in the American Athletic Conference. They are the only team with less than 4 losses in conference play. And with this loss, the SMU Mustangs are now 20-7. They are 11-4 in the American Athletic Conference. That is the second best record in the conference so far, as they currently have 2 less wins than 14th ranked Houston at the moment, as Houston is the only team in the American Athletic Conference that is still ranked following this matchup. I'm looking at the 15th ranked team in the nation. The Illinois Fighting Illini would go to Ann Arbor to beat unranked Michigan 93-85. They won this matchup by 8 after outscoring Michigan by 8 in the first half. On the winning end, the 15th ranked Fighting Illini were led in scoring by their starting center, Kofi Cockburn. He finished with 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He would shoot 11 for 15 from the field. And then, of course, Illinois starting guard Alfonso Plummer would finish with 26 points in 23 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the 15th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini are now 20-8. They are 13-5 in the Big Ten. They are tied with Purdue for the second best record in the conference. They both sit 1 game behind Wisconsin. With this loss, the unranked Michigan Wolverines are 15-12. They are now 9-8 in the Big Ten. Now looking at the 21st ranked team in the nation, the UConn Huskies would go to Washington, D.C. and beat unranked Georgetown 86-77 to ensure that Georgetown still does not get a Big East win coming out of this matchup. UConn won this matchup by 9 after outscoring Georgetown by 15 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 21st ranked UConn Huskies were led in scoring by their starting guard, R.J. Cole. He finished with 18 points as he shot 7 for 12 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3. With this win, the 21st ranked UConn Huskies are now 21-7. They are 12-5 in the Big East. That is the third best record in the conference, as they sit behind Providence and Villanova at the moment. With this loss, the unranked Georgetown Hoyas are 6-22. They are 0-17 in Big East play. They still have yet to win a game, and it's very possible that they could go winless for the entire year. And then looking at the lowest ranked team looking at the only ranked team to lose yesterday, the 22nd ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, the lowest ranked team to play yesterday, will go to Maryland to face off against the unranked Maryland Terrapins. Maryland would beat Ohio State 75-60. They won by 15 after outscoring Ohio State by 11 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 22nd ranked Buckeyes were led in scoring by their starting guard, Malachi Branham. He finished with 13 points in 34 minutes. He shot 4 for 13 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the unranked Maryland Terrapins are now the Maryland Terrapins were led in scoring by their starting guard, Fats Russell. He finished with 27 points and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and he would go on to shoot 3 for 5 from the foul line. Maryland's one of their other starting guards, Eric Ayala, finished with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals in 35 minutes as he shot 8 for 17 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the unranked Maryland Terrapins are 14-15. They are now 6-12 in the Big Ten. They are now tied with Northwestern for the third worst record in the conference. With this loss, the 22nd ranked Ohio State Buckeyes are 18-8. They are now 11-6 in the Big Ten. That is the fourth best record in the conference. They are currently sitting behind Wisconsin, Purdue, and Illinois, as those are the 3 teams that have less than 6 losses in the Big Ten so far. That's what college basketball is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Looking at what's going on today, the first ranked opponent that's going to be playing today will be playing at 8 o'clock on Big Ten Network, as the 25th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes are going to host unranked Northwestern. Iowa enters this matchup with a 10-7 record in the Big Ten. At 9 o'clock, the 9th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders are going to host unranked Kansas State at the United Supermarkets Arena. Texas Tech, the top 10 team, the one of 2 top 10 teams from Texas playing today, enter this matchup with an 11-5 record in the Big 12. Looking at the other top 2 college basketball teams in Texas, the 20th ranked Texas Longhorns are going to host the 10th ranked Baylor Bears, the defending champs, on ESPN at 9 o'clock in Austin, Texas. The hometown Longhorns will enter this matchup with a 10-6 record in the Big 12. The defending champs Baylor Bears will enter this matchup with a 12-4 record in the Big 12. At 11 o'clock, the 12th ranked UCLA Bruins are going to go to Seattle to face off against unranked Washington. UCLA enters this matchup with a 13-5 record in the Pac-12. So that is what college basketball is looking like as we transition into today. Looking at what happened in the NBA yesterday, and in order to do that, I'm going to start off with what happened in Madison Square Garden. The New York Knicks hosted the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers beat the Knicks 125-109. Philadelphia won this game by 16 after outscoring the Knicks by a combined 9 points in the first half, and then by 14 points in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting shooting guards, Evan Fournier and R.J. Barrett. Fournier finished with 24 points in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and he would go on to, and then alongside him, R.J. Barrett, their other shooting guard, finished with 24 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He would go on to shoot 9 for 22 from the field. Their shooting guard off the bench, Isaiah Quickly, would finish with 21 points and 5 rebounds in 26 minutes. He shot 5 for 13 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. The Knicks starting power forward and former All-Star Julius Randle would finish with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 4 for 13 from the field, and on the winning end of this matchup, the Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their elite starting center out of Kansas, Joel Embiid. He finished with 37 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 blocks in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field and 23 for 27 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, former NBA MVP James Harden, finished with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 16 assists, and 5 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 10 for 10 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Tyrese Maxey, finished with 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals, all in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 37-23. That is currently the third best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 3 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. Their 3-game winning streak is tied with Miami for the longest active winning streak in the Eastern Conference, and they're also tied with the LA Clippers for the second longest winning streak in the NBA, behind the Denver Nuggets. The Sixers are now sitting they're sitting a game and a half behind the second seed Chicago Bulls out east, as they sit a game ahead of the fourth place Cleveland Cavaliers. Overall, they sit 2.5 games behind the first seed Miami Heat. With this loss, the New York Knicks are now 25-36. That is the fourth worst record in the Eastern Conference. They have now lost their last 5 games. That is the longest active losing streak in the Eastern Conference, the second longest active losing streak in the NBA behind the Houston Rockets. The Knicks have lost 9 of their last 10 games, and they are currently sitting 4.5 games behind the 10 seed Atlanta Hawks, sitting at the bottom of the play-in picture out east. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Suns hosted the Utah Jazz. The Jazz beat the Suns 118-104. They won this matchup by 4 after outscoring Phoenix by 9 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns, the hometown team, were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard Devin Booker. He finished with 30 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 40 minutes. He would go on to shoot 12 for 24 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and he shot 2 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting center, DeAndre Ayton, the former number 1 overall pick out of Arizona, finished with 23 points and 7 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 11 for 15 from the field, and he made his only three-pointer of the day. Their starting small forward, Cam Johnson, finished with 23 points and 5 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Utah Jazz were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell. He finished with 26 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 20 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. Their point guard off the bench, Jordan Clarkson, finished with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 26 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field. Their elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, finished with 16 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 29 minutes. He shot 5 for 13 from the field and 6 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are now 38-22. That is the 4th best record in the Western Conference, as they are now holding on to the 6th best record in the NBA. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 8 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 3 games behind the 3-seed Memphis Grizzlies, and they sit 2.5 games ahead of the 5th-seed Dallas Mavericks, as they trail the 1st-seed Phoenix Suns by 10.5 games in the Western Conference. With this loss, the Phoenix Suns are now 49-12. That is still the best record in the NBA. They're the only team that has won at least 80% of their games thus far. They've lost 2 of their last 10 games, and they sit 6 games ahead of the 2nd seed in the 2nd place Golden State Warriors out west for the time being. Jumping out to Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Boston Celtics. The Pacers beat the Celtics 128-107. They won this matchup by 21 after they outscored the Celtics by 14 in the second quarter and then by 10 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum. He finished with 24 points and 5 rebounds alongside 3 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 7 for 22 from the field, 2 for 12 from 3, and he shot a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Jaylen Brown, would finish with 23 points and 8 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 as well. Their starting center out of Texas A&M, Robert Williams III, finished with 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 blocks in 33 minutes as he shot 5 for 10 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Indiana Pacers would be led in scoring by their starting small forward, O'Shea Brissett. He finished with 27 points and 6 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. Their newest starting point guard out of Iowa State, Tyrese Halliburton, would finish with 22 points and 9 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. One of their other new additions, their starting shooting guard, Buddy Hield, out of Oklahoma, finished with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their other starting guard, former NBA Rookie of the Year, Malcolm Brogdon, Brogdon finished with 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, a perfect 2 for 2 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Indiana Pacers are 21-41. That is the third worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 2 of their last 10 games. They sit 9 full games behind the 10 seed Atlanta Hawks out east. With this loss, the Boston Celtics are 36-27. That is the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've only lost 2 of their last 10 games. They sit a game behind the defending champs and 5th place Milwaukee Bucks in the East, and they are currently sitting 2 games ahead of the 7th seed Toronto Raptors. Overall, they trail the Miami Heat by 5 full games in the Eastern Conference. Jumping out to Charlotte, the Hornets hosted the Detroit Pistons, and in overtime, the Detroit Pistons would beat the Hornets to get their 15th win of the season and be the second to last team in the NBA to do so, as they were able to edge the Magic out, at least for that respect. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Charlotte Hornets would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Terry Rozier out of Louisville. He would go on to finish with 33 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals in 41 minutes. He shot 12 for 21 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting small forwards, Miles Bridges, finished with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks in 43 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 10 for 11 from the foul line. The Hornets' elite starting point guard, LaMelo Ball, finished with 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 blocks in 38 minutes. He shot 6 for 24 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Detroit Pistons would be led in scoring by their starting small forward, Saddiq Bey. He finished with 28 points and 8 rebounds in 39 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, Jeremy Grant, finished with 26 points in 33 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field, as he would go on to shoot 4 for 10 from 3. Their power forward off the bench, Kelly Olynyk, finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals in 24 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Detroit Pistons are now 15-46. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 3 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 14.5 games behind the 10 seed Atlanta Hawks out east. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are now 30-32. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games, as they are currently sitting 2.5 games behind the 8 seed Brooklyn Nets. They are currently sitting even with the 10 seed Atlanta Hawks, as they have 1 more win and 1 more loss than the Hawks, which is why they have a slightly better win percentage. But of course, that's where the Hornets sit. It's overall, they sit 10.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, Texas, the Houston Rockets hosted the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers beat the Rockets 99-98. They were able to just edge out the Rockets by 1 after outscoring the Rockets by 10 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 9-point deficit going in. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Houston Rockets would be led in scoring by their small forward off the bench, Garrison Matthews. Matthews finished with 17 points and 2 steals in 26 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. In their starting lineup, the Rockets' starting point guard out of Germany, Dennis Schroeder, would finish with 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 4 for 15 from the field and 1 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the LA Clippers would be led in scoring by their starting point guard, Reggie Jackson. He finished with 26 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 turnovers, all in 38 minutes. He shot 9 for 21 from the field on the day. Their starting center, Ivica Zubac, finished with 14 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot a perfect 5 for 5 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the LA Clippers are 32-31. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference. They've won their last 3 games. That is the second longest active winning streak in the Western Conference, behind the Denver Nuggets. The Clippers have won 6 of their last 10 games. They sit a full game behind the 7th seed Minnesota Timberwolves, and they sit 3.5 games ahead of the 9th place Los Angeles Lakers out west, as they trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 18 full games. With this loss, the Houston Rockets are 15-45. That is the worst record in the Western Conference, and win percentage-wise, it's the 3rd worst record in the NBA. They've lost their last 9 games. Their 9-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the NBA right now. They are currently sitting 9.5 games behind the 10th place New Orleans Pelicans, as the Pelicans are tied with the Portland Trail Blazers at the moment. Jumping out to San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors hosted the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks would beat the Warriors 107-101. They won this matchup by 6 after outscoring the Warriors by 20 in the 4th quarter. Going into the last quarter, they were trailing by 14. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their goated starting point guard, the reigning NBA All-Star Game MVP from last weekend, Stephen Curry, would finish with 27 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 25 from the field, 3 for 10 from 3, and he shot 2 for 4 from the foul line. Their all-star starting small forward, Andrew Wiggins, would finish with 18 points and 2 steals, as well as 2 rebounds, 2 assists, as he fouled out in 34 minutes. Wiggins shot 7 for 16 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 5 from the foul line. With this, or I guess on the winning end of this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. Doncic finished with 34 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals, as well as 9 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3, and he shot 11 for 12 from the foul line. Their point guard off the bench, Spencer Dinwiddie, finished with 24 points and 5 assists in 31 minutes. He shot 10 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are now 36-25. That is the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 7 of their last 10 games, as they are tied with the Denver Nuggets for the 5th best record in this conference. They sit 2.5 games behind the 4th seed Utah Jazz, and they are currently sitting 4 games ahead of the 7th seed Minnesota Timberwolves. They trailed the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 13 games at the moment. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors are 43-18. That is the 2nd best record in the Western Conference, and the second best record in the NBA for that matter. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games. They sit 6 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, and they sit a game and a half ahead of the 3rd seed Memphis Grizzlies at the moment. Jumping out to Portland, Oregon, the Trailblazers hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets beat the Trailblazers 124-92. The Nuggets were able to win this matchup by 32 after they outscored the Trailblazers by 17 in the first half, and then they outscored the Trailblazers by 16 in the 4th quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Trailblazers would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Anthony Simons. Simons finished with 16 points in 29 minutes. He shot 5 for 18 from the field, and he shot 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Drew Eubanks, finished with 13 points and 10 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 9 from the field and 1 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets would be led in scoring by their power forward off the bench, JaMychal Green. He finished with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 27 minutes. He shot 7 for 8 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. And then in their starting lineup, their elite starting center and last year's MVP, Nikola Jokic, would finish with 8 points, 18 rebounds, and 11 assists in 26 minutes. He shot 3 for 5 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 36-25. They are tied with the Dallas Mavericks for the 5th best record in the Western Conference. The Denver Nuggets have won their last 6 games. That is the longest active winning streak in the NBA. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. Alongside the Mavericks, they sit 2.5 games behind the 4th seed Utah Jazz, and they sit 4 games ahead of the 7th seed Minnesota Timberwolves. With this loss, the unranked Portland Trailblazers are 25-36. That is the 5th worst record and also at the same time the 10th best record in the Western Conference, as they are now tied with the New Orleans Pelicans. They have lost their last 2 games and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 2.5 games behind the ninth place LA Lakers out west, as they sit a full game ahead of the 12th place San Antonio Spurs, as they hold the 2nd spot on the outside of the play-in picture looking in. At the same time, with this loss, they sit 24 full games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. Last but not least, jumping to Crypto.com Arena, the Los Angeles Lakers hosted the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans beat the Lakers 123-95. The Pelicans won this game by 28 after outscoring the Lakers by 11 in the first half. They outscored the Lakers by 19 in the third quarter as well. The hometown LA Lakers on the losing end of this matchup would be led in scoring by their goated starting small forward, LeBron James. He finished with 32 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 7 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 13 for 23 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their goated starting point guard and the NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles, Russell Westbrook, would finish with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 turnovers in 28 minutes. He shot 5 for 15 from the field and 6 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard CJ McCollum. McCollum finished with 22 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, would finish with 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. And also in their starting lineup, their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Brandon Ingram, finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals in 31 minutes. He shot 8 for 18 from the field. And with this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are now 25-36. That is tied with the Portland Trailblazers for the 10th best record in the Western Conference. The Pelicans have won their last 2 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. They sit 2.5 games behind the 9th place LA Lakers, and they sit 1 game ahead of the 12th place San Antonio Spurs. They sit a whole 24 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns out west. With this loss, the Los Angeles Lakers sit just ahead of them. They are now 27-33. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They sit 3.5 games behind the 8 seed LA Clippers, who they share a stadium with, and they sit 2.5 games ahead of the 10 seed New Orleans Pelicans for right now. So that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, because today is Monday, the primetime matchups are, the one is going to be on NBA TV at 8 o'clock, as the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks host the Charlotte Hornets in Pfizer V Forum. The Hornets entered this matchup holding the 9th best record in the East, having lost 8 of their last 10. The Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champs, entered this matchup with the 5th best record in the East. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They sit 4 full games behind the 1st seed Miami Heat, so they are within striking range. Looking at the games that aren't going to be on prime time, at 7 o'clock, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to host the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. At the same time, the Orlando Magic are going to host the Indiana Pacers at the Amway Center in Orlando, as the Magic are still the last team. They're going to be the last team to cross the 15-win threshold if they hit 15 wins. At 7:30, the Brooklyn Nets host the Toronto Raptors. The Miami Heat are going to host the Chicago Bulls as well. At 8 o'clock, the Memphis Grizzlies are going to host the San Antonio Spurs. And at the same time, the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to host the Sacramento Kings in Paycom Center. Taking a look at what's going on in the world of soccer, leaving off from yesterday's matchups, starting first with the Carabao Cup final. The champion, at least the holders of the trophy this year, would be Liverpool after they beat Chelsea 11-10 on penalties. The regular game itself ended 0-0 in extra time. It would be Chelsea's sub-goalie Kepa that ended up missing the goal, but of course this would be a very big win for Liverpool. And considering Chelsea's won a lot of trophies within the past year, I imagine they're going to get over this one relatively easily. Taking a look at what happened in the leagues themselves, jumping to La Liga in Spain, Barcelona hosted Athletic Club. They were able to beat Athletic Club 4-0. Their first goal came from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang out of Gabon. Their next 3 goals will come in the second half from Ousmane Dembele, Luc de Jong, and then their elite Netherlands striker Memphis Depay in the 94th minute. With this win, Barcelona is now currently sitting in 4th place in La Liga, as they sit only 1 point behind Real Betis, as they sit in league with Atletico Madrid at the moment. And then they are sitting just 1 point behind Real Betis because Sevilla beat Betis 2-1 yesterday, as both their goals will come in the first half. Real Betis' lone goal came in the 94th minute after they were trailing 2-0 all the second half. With this win, Sevilla now sits second in La Liga, as they sit 6 points behind first place Real Madrid. Real Betis now sits third in La Liga in a Champions League spot, sitting 8 points behind second place Sevilla, and they sit 1 point ahead of fourth place Barcelona and fifth place Atletico Madrid for the time being. And then, of course, following that, jumping to France, the reigning French champs, LOSC Lille, would end up beating Lyon 1-0. Lille's lone goal would come from Gabriel Gudmundsson. With this win, LOSC Lille is now sitting or tied for the 7th best record in Ligue 1, as they are currently sitting 1 point out of 6th place, and they are currently sitting 4 points out of 4th place in France for the time being. Big win for them because the middle of France is actually that close. And then not to mention that they're the second best team in France. Marseille would actually end up drawing with Troyes in their pursuit of PSG, as they would end up allowing a goal in the 90th minute. With this draw, Marseille are now sitting 15 full points behind PSG in the table. That's what France is looking like. Moving to Italy, it looks as though Napoli was able to beat Lazio in Rome 2-1, as their first goal will come from Insigne. Lazio would end up tying the game in the 88th minute from Pedro, and Napoli would end up taking the win off of the 94th minute goal from Fabian Ruiz. With this win, Napoli now sits at the very top of Serie A, tied with Milan as they sit tied with AC Milan, as they sit 2 points ahead of Inter Milan. So that was actually a very big win within Italy itself, as we now see a new team, or not a new team, but a team that's always been sitting around there, now at the very top temporarily. And then last but not least, jumping to Germany, the second best team in all the land, Borussia Dortmund, would face off against FC Augsburg. They would end up drawing 1-1, as Dortmund's lone goal came from Torgan Hazard out of Belgium. With this draw, Borussia Dortmund now sits second in the Bundesliga, as they sit 8 points behind the defending Bundesliga champs Bayern Munich, as this was a chance for them to at least stay within even, to stay right behind them, but this may actually set them back in what they're trying to do. That's everything that happened yesterday, and of course, as we transition into a Monday in the soccer season, the big matchup today is going to be in Italian Serie A, as Atalanta is going to host Sampdoria. Atalanta enters this matchup with the 5th best record in Italy, tied with Roma. They sit 6 points behind fourth place Juventus, as they play 2 less games than Juventus. If they win their next 2 games, they'll be on par with Juventus. And if they win, they'd have a better goal differential at this point. So Atalanta are still playing for that last Champions League spot, and they have no pressure on them necessarily, except that they actually have to win this game. But with that said, that is everything that I have for you from yesterday's matchups. And of course, with that said, I want to thank the ESPN, the NCAA, the NBA, and the FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed in order to do it. And of course, with that said, once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 for another episode of The Elite. And of course, I do want to apologize for all the names that I butchered, because I know I do eventually plan on getting some of them right. I plan on eventually getting all of them right along the way. And I want to thank you for being patient with me along this journey as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. Thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out.